That's one of the things I tried to think through is why you should tell the truth. So it's not self-evident, man. A smart kid, the smarter the kid, the earlier they learn to lie. Lying is very powerful because you can manipulate the world with your language. And then you can get what you want lots of times, or escape from things that you don't want. So why not lie all the time? Well, I think the reason is, there's a bunch of reasons, but one of them is that you can't trust yourself if you lie. And there's going to be times in your life where you have no one to turn to except you. And so if you've stuffed yourself full of lies, then you're going to be in a crisis one day and you're going to have to make a decision and you're going to decide wrong. And you're going to be in real trouble because you won't have the clarity of mind necessary to make the proper judgment because you've filled your imagination and your perception with rubbish. So, and if you really think that through, you see, there's this old idea in the Old Testament that fear of God is the beginning of wisdom, and I kind of understand what that means. Because one of the things, say, we do with the Future Authoring Program, we offer people a little heaven. It's like, okay, construct your ideal, aim at it, come up with a plan. You got to modify the plan, no problem. You're going to do a bad job of it, no problem, just do it. Okay, so then now you've got a goal, and so now your approach systems, technically speaking, the positive emotion systems that motivate you are engaged because they're engaged in relationship to a goal. And the more transcendent the goal, the more they're engaged. But that's not good enough. It's great to run towards something you like, but it's even better to run away from something that terrifies you. So then we ask people, okay, so here, think about this real carefully. Take all your faults and your inadequacies and your hatred for life, all of that. And then imagine that gets the upper hand. And then think about where you could be in 3 to 5 years. Everyone knows, hey? Some people know they'd be a street person. Some people know they'd be an alcoholic. Some people know they'd be a prostitute or a drug addict. Like, everybody's got their own little hell they could descend into with fair degree of rapidity and a fair bit of enjoyment. And people know that. And so I say, well, delineate that out too. So you know where you're headed when you fall off the path. And so then you're running away and running towards, it's like, yes, well, that's heaven and hell. And you need it, and they're real. They're as real as anything that you can. It depends on what you mean by real, I suppose, but they're as real as you make them. How about that? And people can make hell pretty real.
People do seem to construct these pitfalls for themselves. I mean, self-sabotage is one of the most common things that you find in people that are struggling. I mean, you would think that someone who is struggling, the last thing they'd want to do is help themselves towards their own demise. But it's super common.
Yeah, well, I thought about that too. And so you tell me what you think about this. Because if you talk to people, they say, well, I want to have a meaningful life. Generally, people want that. But then you think, well, then why aren't you? And then you think, well, what does it mean to have a meaningful life exactly? And then you think, well, maybe it means that you have to take on responsibility. Because your sacrifices have to be worth something, right? It has to have some meat, what you're aiming at. It has to be something that can elevate your worm-like self to the level of tolerability. You know, you can say, well, yeah, I've got all these flaws, but look at what I'm trying to do.
Right.
That's the real ground of self-respect.